Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago, and welcome to the Bourse Report. Well, Carnival is now over, and we're still in the business of the day. Today, we're taking a look at the banking sector and two of the stalwarts, the local boys, as it were, First Citizens Group Financial Holdings, as well as Republic Financial Holdings Limited, for their first quarter results ended December 2023. Now, both groups would have reported improved earnings. Let's take a look at how they would have fared and what investors might expect in the coming months ahead. Turning firstly to RFHL or Republic. Well, the group would have recorded or reported rather an earnings per share figure in that first quarter of $3.08, a 25.7% increase from the $2.45 recorded in the prior comparable period. Driving that performance was an improvement in net interest income, up just around 12% from 1.1 odd billion to about 1.24 billion. Overall operating income improved just about 7.2% from 1.65 odd billion to 1.76 billion, with net profit before tax increasing from 571 million to 714 million. Profits attributable to equity holders improved from 400 million to a very significant 503 million in that first quarter alone, again up 25.8 odd percent. When we take a look at Republic's operating income by major segment, well, of course, that net interest income did drive performance quite significantly in that orange segment from 1.1 billion to 1.24 billion, as mentioned. However, it was partially offset by a decline, just around 2.6% decline in the other income, falling from 538 million to 524 million overall. However, when we take a look at the trend of operating income for RFHL, it has been upward sloping and eyeballing it somewhat accelerating over the past few first quarter comparable periods. Now, from a profit before tax by geographical segment perspective, some notable changes. Trinidad and Tobago continues to be its dominant, RFHL's dominant jurisdiction, with a 3.7% increase in profit before taxes, moving from 1.1 odd billion to 1.14 billion. There was also notable improvement in the Guyana segment in that green shade, moving from 61 million to 84 million, roughly a 37% improvement. And also notably, Ghana swung from a loss of $114 million in the first quarter of 2023 to a modest profit of $36 million in the first quarter of 2024. Otherwise, the Cayman Islands was fairly flat, around 123 million TT equivalent in that first quarter of 2024, with some choppy performance. Otherwise, Barbados, for example, falling from a profit of 75 million in PBT in that first quarter of 2023 to 28 million in the first quarter of 2024. Overall, however, that profit before tax, of course, improving from 571 to 714 million on aggregate. So at a price of $120.67, RFHL is trading at a price to earnings ratio of 10.6 times, below the sector average of 13.7 times, and offers investors a dividend yield currently of 4.8% compared to that sector average of 3.7%. Now that dividend yield may normalize as the impact or the full cyclical impact of quarterly dividend payments, which has just begun, takes hold, and that particular dividend yield ratio normalizes, but on the basis of improving earnings, attractive valuations, and that geographic diversification, which has borne fruit for the group. Bourse maintains an overweight rating on RFHL for the time being. Turning quickly to First Citizens Group Financial Holdings, or First Citizens. Well, the group reported an earnings per share figure of 94 cents, which was a whopping 19% increase from the 79 cents recorded in that prior comparable period. Net interest income improved to almost 23% from 417 odd million to 512 million. Total net revenues up 18.4% from 570 million to just about 675 million. Overall, profits after tax up 18.8 odd percent from just under 200 million to 237.1 million. When we take a look at First Citizens profit before tax by segment, we can see that there was some notable changes. Retail and corporate banking up just around 9% from 249 million to 272 odd million. Treasury and investment banking, after a very strong first quarter in 2023, relative to recent historical periods, declined from 257 million to 154 million. And of course, these PBT figures are before eliminations, and trustee and asset management would have improved from 13 million in that first quarter of 2023 PBT to just around 14 million in the first quarter of 2024. So certainly some changes in terms of contributions, but overall on aggregate, certainly positive trends for police citizens. Now, at a larger or wider perspective of the banking sector, we can see that valuations on offer and dividend yields on offer are beginning to look more compelling to potential equity investors. For example, the sector average, banking sector average is 13.7 times with the average dividend yield of 3.7%. For citizens, for example, at 15.4 times price earnings ratio with a dividend yield of 4.2%. On the cheaper end of the spectrum, relatively, First Caribbean is at around 6.3 times price to earnings based on its most recent results, as well as a 4.7% dividend yield. On the more expensive, relatively side of the spectrum is Scotiabank Trinidad and Tobago with an 18.6 times price earnings ratio and a dividend yield of 3.9%. But in general, perhaps with the exception of NCBFG at this particular point in time, the banking sector does offer fairly healthy dividends for would-be equity investors. Now, at a price of $49.83, First Citizens, as mentioned, is offering a price earnings ratio of 15.4 times compared to that banking sector average of 13.7 times with a dividend yield of 4.2% versus the sector average of 3.7%. So with earnings growth in mind, attractive dividend, but of course, slightly above the banking sector average in terms of price to earnings ratio valuations. So overall, we're gonna call it fair valuations. Bourse is maintaining its market weight rating on FCGFH for the time being. Well, that's it for this week's edition. For more information, you can give us a call at 2BORSE or 226-8773. Email us at invest@boursefinancial.com. And of course, you can check out our website, bourseinvestment.com, for all of our research, which is absolutely free. And you can catch this article in today's business section of the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian newspaper. So until next week, stay safe, happy investing, and we'll see you next time on the Bourse Report.